I was on a cross-country drive to visit a buddy, driving all the way to Brooks, Alberta from the GTA. And if you don't know what GTA means, it means Tirana, the center of the universe. I left home in the middle of the night to avoid the insane traffic and continued to drive during the wee small hours of the morning. It was more peaceful, and there was lots of strange stuff on the radio to listen to. I'm a car guy. My ride is a red 1990 Lincoln Town Car. It's my baby, and I was taking it out west for my friend to ogle it. Ogle it. It was 3 a.m., and I was on the Trans-Canada west of Moose Jaw. In other words, I was in the middle of nowhere when I saw the man standing by the side of the road. I slowed down for a look, more out of curiosity and to see if the man was in distress. As a rule, I don't pick up hitchhikers, and certainly not at 3:17 a.m. in the morning. But no way would I have stopped for this guy, even in broad daylight. He was short, squat, balding, but with a jaw blackened by a 5 o'clock shadow, and wearing a black t-shirt and green military trousers. In truth, he was lightly dressed, considering how chilly it gets on the prairies during the early morning hours. I saw him momentarily in my high beams, then continued speeding down the road. This guy was too creepy. Too creepy. Now, one of the great joys of driving across the prairies after dark is the night sky. There are billions of stars, as if someone had sprinkled sugar on a pall of black velvet. Sometimes I would just pull over to the side of the road, exit the vehicle, and just stare upwards in sheer awe. So I stopped a few miles down the road from where I saw the weird guy and got out. But it was disappointing. As I said, it gets cold on the prairies at night, even in August. Okay, late August. And there was a mist in the air that made the stars impossible to see. Not even Sirius, the dog star, was visible. There was nothing for it but to get back in the car and on my way. But as I was climbing in behind the wheel, I noticed the mist had turned into banks of thick fog which was rolling across the pasture land beside the road. I didn't like that. There are no lights along the highway, so it gets pretty dark out here, with only your headlights for illumination. The last thing I needed was fog, but maybe I could outrun it. I couldn't. Within a few minutes, a dense cloud bank obscured the highway, reducing visibility to mere yards. I put on my brights, but that only made it worse. I don't like driving blind, and I had my baby to protect. Well, I wasn't on a fixed schedule, so I pulled over to the side of the highway to wait it out. Maybe go to sleep. My only worry was getting sideswiped by a transport truck. I began to nod off, so I rolled down my window, hoping the night air would keep me awake. It was still and deathly quiet at first. Until I heard the scream. I nearly jumped out of my skin. The shriek sounded close, very close, too close, and I automatically rolled up my window, expecting any second to have something loom out of the dark and attacked me. Was it that freak I had seen earlier? Maybe I should put the car in gear and get the hell out of there. But the mist had closed in, heavier than before, making it hard to see past the hood of the Lincoln. I was stuck, and without a weapon. I waited. Nothing happened, and eventually I rolled down my window again and listened. The night and the intense fog generated a sense of expectancy. And then I heard it again, the screaming, followed by the sound of an approaching transport truck barreling down the highway from somewhere behind me. Instinct took over, and I jumped from the town car and took refuge in the ditch, even though I hated to leave my baby. A huge bulk loomed out of the darkness and came roaring past. I could barely make out its shadow, but it was an 18-wheeler. And then I heard the crash. The sound of the impact, the screeching metal and breaking glass, exploded through the gloom, and I felt the shock wave as a physical blow, which staggered me. And then all was still, until the screaming really started. The darkness and the infernal surrounding fog was filled with terrible noises, screams, howls, groans, coming from everywhere in the darkness, everywhere in the night. I came out of the ditch, wanting to see what had happened, and wanting to help. But which way to go? The sounds were coming from everywhere. But then I heard a loud, pounding sound coming down the highway towards my position. A pounding that sounded like footsteps? Footsteps of something big, something very big. Something rushed past me through the mist, something that looked like a dinosaur? I only caught a momentary glimpse of it, a dark mass moving through the swirling white vapor, but it looked like a prehistoric monster. It looked like T-Rex. No, couldn't be, I told myself. And then it roared, and I nearly lost control of my bowels. It was the loudest, most ferocious sound I had ever heard in my life. It penetrated the banks of fog, assaulting my ears. The screaming increased, if that was possible, followed by the sound of gunfire, including automatic weapons. It sounded like a full-scale battle. I dived back into the car. Just what the hell was going on? Had I slipped through a portal into another dimension? An alternate universe? Was it the fog? Was the fog doing it? Or was the fog some kind of weapon inducing psychosis? Or was the end of the world upon us? Was it? Something knocked on my driver's side window and almost gave me a heart attack. The hitchhiker was standing there. He was short, squat, balding, with a jaw blackened by a 5 o'clock shadow, and wearing a black t-shirt and green military trousers. He leaned in towards me, staring at me with his dark eyes. I didn't dare roll down the window, but I could still hear him when he said, "Going my way?" The moral of the story: avoid strange men thumbing rides if you want your hike to go without a hitch. If this is your first visit to my channel, please consider subscribing. My name is Warren, and I write and tell original ghost stories and original horror stories featuring such cryptids as the Night Floaters, werewolves, and the Black-Eyed Children. So again, please consider subscribing. Please help me to reach my goal of 2,021 subs in 2021. Till midnight. Cheers. Pictures used today, courtesy of Pix Here, that's PX Here, while the music was the phantasmagorical Aftermath by that patron of the internet, Kevin MacLeod.